We got a big visit weekend in the Bayou. We're talking LSU Tigers with Shea Dixon, and we're going to get to the visitors on campus this weekend, but there's a big one off campus. That's five-star wide receiver Tristan Keys. He's going to be at Miami, committed to LSU, going to visit Miami this weekend. Is there any reason for concern for Tiger fans?
Look, it's recruiting in the NIL era, so there's always a reason for at least to pay attention, right, to each visit that's made. And before committing to LSU, Tristan had lined up schools that he wanted to visit, whether it was Tennessee, Bama, Miami, LSU, obviously, and then he popped for the Tigers. And he's going to stick with these visits. And a big reason is Tony Vance, who was the former head coach at Hattiesburg High, now he's moved on. Taking another job in Georgia, but he had taken, and the assistant coaches had taken Tristan around. I remember he'd come to summer camp in 8th grade at LSU with the coaches. And Tristan told me that now these OVs are a chance for his mom to see things for the first time and get a feel for the coaching staff, the schools, all of that. But the final official visit will go to LSU. His mother's already visited numerous times, and he's still committed. And this past weekend, on unofficial visits, they had Tristan Keys, Jabari Mack, and Kenny Darby. And those three guys, if you don't know, are LSU's three wide receiver commits. All of them are top 200 prospects. Jabari Mack and Tristan being top 50 prospects. And then Kenny Darby led the state of Louisiana in receiving coming out of Airline, which is a big deal as a junior. So you can make the case right now, Josh, that LSU's got the best wide receiver haul in America. They've got even a couple more guys, Calvin Russell and Jalen Lott, coming in for visits, OVs this weekend while Tristan's down at Miami. But the goal is 100% from sources to hold on to these three. And it certainly kind of begins with Tristan Keys as the only non-Louisiana guy of the group. Granted, about a 2.5-hour drive to Hattiesburg puts LSU closer to his hometown than any other school that's in the mix here.
All right, now we turn our attention to who will be on campus, and one of the most anticipated visitors is quarterback Bo Bentley. He is down to two schools. It's Oklahoma, it's LSU. He's going to visit Oklahoma next weekend, but this weekend is LSU. What do the Tigers need to prove this weekend? And also, do we know yet the entourage that's coming with Bo Bentley? Is he coming by himself? Is he coming with family? Do we know any of the details?
Yeah, he'll be with his family, and I think that if you want to, however you want to call it, the champion of his recruitment is the old Coach O word for it, decision makers. But his dad has played a big role here, and he was with him when he made his first visit to LSU coming out of the dead period in February. In early March, I guess he visited, and that's what really kind of surged LSU up the list. And ultimately, it was a top 3. Jared Curtis goes to Georgia, becomes a top 2 of LSU and OU. And I think for LSU, it's pitching recent success of quarterbacks, right? I mean, you look at OU during the Lincoln Riley years, they were doing what LSU's doing now. LSU's won a Heisman with a quarterback between Burrow and Jaden Daniels twice in 5 years. Now Garrett Nussmeier is the odds-on favorite to win the Heisman this year. Look, it's betting odds, so we'll see how it happens. But there is no doubt that he is one of the best quarterbacks out there in the country going into his second year as a starter. And he'll be a first-round pick by all accounts around this time next year. So that lineage of quarterbacks here recently is not something LSU's been able to hang their hat on through like the Les Miles era and into the early stages of the Orgeron era. So I think that for a guy like Bo Bentley, who let's say around Josh, 14, 15, he starts really paying attention to football, picking up offers. Like during that stretch, LSU certainly has been one of the most impressive quarterback schools out there. And we know they've got receivers to throw to. They're all over the NFL. And we just talked about a few of them. 3 of the top receivers in the country already committed. So I think they've got a good selling point as long as they can drive home that comfort feeling, all of that, because as a guy from Salinas, that area is North Texas, and a lot of them are OU or Texas fans, and certainly Bentley fits into the OU side of it. So LSU, OU both get visits in a 7-day span here, and then after that, I was talking with Wilt Pong. We'd expect probably for him to settle into a decision because those are the only 2 colleges he's still looking at.
Yeah. All right, let's talk a little bit about Emmanuel Iheanacho, because if you got a quarterback coming on campus, you got to have a 5-star offensive tackle. Now, Oregon, maybe the perceived leader here. How do you view this recruitment and where LSU stands?
Yeah, it's funny. I went down to New Orleans when Nike held an event for the Super Bowl. All 32 NFL teams each had a guy from their area represented, and he was with the Commanders coming out of the DC area. And when I talked to him, he was like narrowing it to a top 8, and LSU was one of like 6 schools that might be the 8th team to make it.
Yeah.
And then he visited, and then he set up an OV and suddenly surged into the group of not just OVs, but as Wiltfong said, beyond Oregon, as you mentioned, LSU might be the dark horse here, as arguably one of the 2 or 3 other teams that's really in the mix. So this will go a long way. And like Brian Kelly from Notre Dame, Cincinnati to Notre Dame to LSU is known for being a head coach who knows how to put the pieces in place to develop O-linemen. LSU's had a run of top 5 with Will Campbell, the highest drafted O-lineman ever out of LSU. That's something certainly that they're able to sell now that maybe they couldn't have done 5-10 years ago. So keep a close eye on this one. Obviously, Jackson Cantwell's commitment to Miami made a lot of people believe that, look, maybe Dan Lanning in Oregon are the front runners. Certainly could be the case. But LSU getting an OV is huge, and having him on campus with double-digit other guys, I think 9 or 10 of the 12 rank in the top 200. So this is kind of a who's who weekend of visitors coming from outside the state. And certainly they'll roll out the red carpet for him. He's the highest ranked of them all. I think that they're going to take a swing for the fences. And Brad Davis has signed a 5-star, I believe, every single cycle now, whether it's a straight up signing, whether it's flipping someone. So it is not out of the realm of possibilities that they could beat out Oregon for Iheanacho.
I know these guys all have commitment dates set, and they're not going to budge off those. But is there anybody going to be on campus this weekend that you feel really good about being a Tiger in the end?
I think Bentley is one that you look at knowing he has a top 2, and with LSU success at quarterback recently, as I mentioned, that is it 50-50? I mean, that's a pretty good shot when you're down to that, because a number of these other guys have 6 more visits to go, or whatever it might be, and aren't going to decide till later in the process. So I would circle him, but it is a group of out-of-state guys, Josh, where I think that you look back at this weekend of 12 OVs, and I don't think any of them you would say right now that LSU, who has the number 1 class in the country with 9 commits, is like 100% the leader for, right? Now, number from Louisiana, there's some border state kids, but Iheanacho coming from the East Coast, for instance, a lot of kids coming from Florida. So I think we'll look back and say, all right, if they could sign 2 guys, 3 guys potentially out of this haul, it would be considered a really successful weekend. So I think I'll hold off on that answer till after the weekend. Let's see how the dust settles, because I wouldn't call him the leader maybe for any of them outside of maybe a slight edge on Bentley if you are in that camp. But I think that after this weekend, you could see them kind of say, hey, look, we are now the leader for, this guy or whomever it might be.
All right. Well, let's lock you in for Sunday's show, because the dust will be settling on that huge weekend. And I can't wait to hear the big moves that LSU makes this weekend, because you're right. A lot of these early official visit weekends are kind of swing for the fences moments. But whenever you get guys on campus, like you said, when you met with Iheanacho, I mean, they were battling for that final spot in his top 8. Now maybe in his top 3, top 4. So we'll see what this official visit does. Shea Dixon, Bengal Tiger, you guys have a lot going on the site. Go check it out.